Thank you very much. I thought it would take me 30 years to get up here at the top, but even though it's only going to last a couple minutes, I just want to savor it for a second. Ms. Hamidi, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. In your opening statement, you noted that pedestrian deaths on our roadways has been increasing since 2010. In 2016, nearly 6,000 pedestrians died in collisions with highway vehicles in the U.S. That's an average of 16 per day. And according to NTSB's 2018 Special Investigation Report, roughly 28% of those deaths occur on rural roads. My district in Northeast Wisconsin has a lot of rural roads, and I know this was talked about a little bit before, but if you would, could you expand on whether there's a difference in NTSB's safety recommendations for urban versus rural roads?
For the pedestrian safety study, we did find that there were more fatalities in urban environments, and that 18% of the fatalities occurred at intersections, 72% at non-intersections, and 10% at other locations.
I appreciate that. And for anyone on the panel, can you comment perhaps on the impact that commercial trucking has on pedestrian and non-pedestrian fatalities, if at all? I don't know who wants to volunteer. Who's brave? Sir, you look eager. If not eager, reluctantly willing to step up.
Well, if I could, sir, I'm not so sure that that's a high priority issue in terms of the representation and fatalities and injuries. Unfortunately, when those incidents occur, because you're dealing with the principle of physics, a bigger vehicle against a human being is not going to come out well for the human being. But generally speaking, I'm not aware of a significant change in that kind of an environment under the scenario that you suggested.
Well, let me perhaps ask it a different way and sort of reveal what I'm getting at here. So commercial trucks following local laws in 29 states are barred from using the federal interstate, which then forces them in many cases to stay on winding secondary roads where there are a lot of pedestrian crossings, bicycles, school crossing, traffic lights, and other obstacles, right? So in 2009, we in Congress authorized a pilot program in Maine that found that allowing these commercial trucks on the interstate, even for short distances, actually decreased fatalities by 37%. Which makes sense, right? If you have these trucks sort of off the rural, winding roads where there's a lot more pedestrians, perhaps they would avoid that unfortunate encounter that you referenced. So I just would ask, particularly those who are representatives at the state and local level, would you, in theory, support states having the option of allowing some of these commercial trucks to use the federal interstate for short distances in order to reduce highway fatalities?
It would depend upon what type of commercial vehicle we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Commercial vehicles are very broad. You can have those that involve the transportation, for example, of certain hazardous commodities, whether they're interstate or intrastate. There's a difference in that as far as Title 49. In addition to that, there's also the concerns about what our local communities want in their backyard. We do have bypass traffic because of congestion and congestion mitigation efforts made by commercial drivers at times. But I think you'll find that most local folks would love to have the local control over what's migrating through their cities. But whether or not those vehicles should be allowed on an interstate vis-a-vis through a thing, it would depend upon what they're trying to move, quite frankly.
And for us in Northeast Wisconsin, logging is a big issue. Mm-hmm. You can imagine logging trucks, giving them the ability to, for a short distance, 150 miles, use the federal interstates. I don't know if anyone has dealt with any of these issues and wants to chime in.
If I may, real quick, what you're speaking about is very closely tied to land use. And when you're trying to provide access not only to commercial vehicles or you name it type of vehicle to get to a place they have to do business, and you couple that where we're focused on multimodal pedestrian and bicycle safety, establishing clear context for corridors and then assigning certain vehicles to allow access to places that eliminate conflicts and minimize, as was mentioned, that speed differential between higher moving vehicles and pedestrians or slower moving vehicles is a great idea.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for being here today, and I yield the balance of my time.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher, and I do want to note that